were just talking about sonic booms because of that land speed record for airlines a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I just want to comment on this quickly. That is cool, and that is part of the reason that there's not supersonic flight over the continental United States. But the bigger issue, the reason the Concorde really didn't work, was price and the amount of stress that the speed put on the fuselage of a plane. So like a 737 or similar can fly X number of flights. I mean, you've been on old planes, right? You can tell they're retrofitted because there's not as much stress at subsonic speeds. And so the problem is if you run those planes at supersonic speeds, the fuselage, it gets broken up and they have to put new planes in service, which makes it even more expensive, which makes it, so just, it's not just about the sonic boom, I guess.
Although, should we be updating planes more often? I mean,
have you guys ever been on one? I want to say up as early as like 10 years ago, I was on a plane that still had a cigarette. You've ever been on a plane that had a cigarette thing in this seat, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, you might be onto something, but it's a cost. It's a cost issue.
Right. What does it take to replace all that?
Right.
As opposed to just leave it there.
Yeah. I would. So don't get me wrong. I'd love to get to Paris in 2.5 hours, but there's
that would be great.
There's more than the sonic boom that's keeping us from that. Paris, Maine. We get there.
You can get there
under 2
very
hours.
quickly.
Yes. All right, 32 in Portland for a high temperature today, 33 in Freiburg, 27 in Bangor. Not a bad day. It turned down. Actually, it was under modeled a little bit. Temperatures were forecast to be in the 20s, and they popped out of that. We had a lot of sunshine, so it turned out to be a nice day. Winds were pretty flat. The sun, reasonable temperatures, technically still below average, but nothing crazy. It'll be chilly tonight with temperatures dropping down to about 20 along the coastline, maybe some upper teens, probably 10 to a couple of single digits in the interior, and then single digits to around 0 into the mountains. Not as cold as last night, still obviously cold. You know, it is still February after all. And then tomorrow we see an increase in cloud cover compared to the last few days, but also an increase in temperatures. So we should be about 30 to 35. A couple of spots, especially over southern and western Maine, should be able to get into the upper 30s by tomorrow afternoon. And that is a little moderation that will carry through into Thursday too. Again, notice more cloud cover here, but temperatures are able to get into the upper 30s, I think some low 40s on Thursday afternoon. That will feel pretty good for most people. And then here comes our system on Friday that we have to talk about, we've been talking about throughout the week. So we got a lot going on in the atmosphere here. There's a storm here, another one here. This is actually the area we're watching towards St. Louis. But things don't really come together in a very strong and organized way. And the result of that, I think, is going to be a mixed precipitation storm for most of the state. So it comes in here on Thursday night into Friday. May start as snow along the coast and then change over to rain. Hang on to snow into the foothills and mountains, I think, through most of this event. So that's a positive for them. But at no point does this turn into a big closed off low, and it would need to give us a chance at snow statewide. So as it stands, it's kind of what I thought yesterday, where we've got a little bit of snow in the mountains and foothills. And then our next system that comes through is mid next week, and that looks like a rainer all the way, easily, probably close to record highs in some spots. So this is not our official forecast, so to speak, but this is to give you an idea of Thursday night into Friday what we're talking about here. I don't think we'll get an inch in Portland, but I think the idea is that you could see snow briefly along the coast, changing to rain, maybe an inch of slush inland, but the real accumulation, 3-4 inches maybe, will be into the mountains and foothills, which will be good for them on Friday. So not a blockbuster storm, shouldn't have huge travel impacts either. And your temperature trend, after that storm comes through, it's cold on Saturday and chilly again on Sunday, and then we start to warm up in advance of our storm system mid next week. And guys, we need a huge change on that midweek storm next week to get anything but a rainy, warm disaster once again. Not disaster as far as flooding, I just think as far as melting snowpack and all that. That's what we're looking at, though, I think. And that is, I'm trying to think, is that going to be March?
Yeah, next weekend. Friday.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so we'll be going into on that note of a rainy storm. So quiet until then, and then that storm on Friday just doesn't look like a big deal. We can't quite line it up right.
Okay. All right, Keith. Thank you.